Right to our second big story. Nigeria's federal government says it is set to deploy the 200,000 unemployed graduates in the first batch of a social intervention program designed to empower 500,000 Nigerians.
Okay, we have the details of that.
Akonde says the Empower Volunteer Program is a demonstration of President Muhammadu Buhari's commitment to invest in the human capital development of Nigerian citizens, particularly the young people. The presidential aide underscores the significance of the program, insisting the processes were transparent.
So there are three criteria that were used. Number one, 40% of whatever number applied in the state. Number two, special consideration for the Northeast, which actually I think was about 4,000 altogether. And then number three, I think about another 4,000 special consideration for states that had the lowest number of applications.
Charity and Caleb reside in Abuja and are among the successful applicants shortlisted in the first batch of the program. They corroborate Akonde's comments in a chat with TVC News about the process that produced them as beneficiaries of the scheme.
I did not know anybody. The assessment, I was assessed on 24th of September in the midnight around 12 o'clock. Online. Me and my husband, I just came out. We fixed everything. I was assessed. 20 minutes, I was done. So with the help of God, I was shortlisted.
I want to commend the federal government, first of all, for sticking to their word about doing something for the unemployed. And also that the scheme, this idea, should not just be one of those ideas that come up and then dies.
Akonde says the physically challenged were not left out of the program as it gives a breakdown of the composition of the first batch.
The program is continuing. It's just that every year we're going to be taking new 500,000 new people. It is also the place where everybody, and that's why one of the reasons why they're going to have a tablet. Everybody is going to be signing in. There are going to be monitors, that will be appointed in each of the local governments, to keep everybody on top. That portal will be there not only for them to communicate what they are doing, but we also monitor what they are doing.
Out of the 200,000 candidates shortlisted for the first batch, 150,000 are expected to teach, 30,000 would work in the agri sector, while 20,000 would work in the healthcare delivery. The successful candidates are expected to resume work on December the 1st. Maria Olashainde, TVC News, Abuja.
All right, we have joining us right now in the studio social commentator, Great Imo. Jonathan, many thanks for joining us on TVC Breakfast this morning.
Good morning.
Let's kick the ball rolling.
Yeah.
Continuity of this program, is it feasible?
Very much feasible. And also, I believe that the quantum can be improved. We can increase the volume in terms of the number of people who are engaged, because right now, Nigeria grows at average rate of 3.8% per annum. And the speed at which younger people are graduating from the universities, and even those who are also unable to make it to university but out to working age, we don't have a commensurate speed in terms of industrial development. So it is such intervention program as this that can help take them off the unemployment market and then also make them useful to society. So not only should it continue, as much as it's a subsidy, which I always insist must be closely monitored. Thank God the special advisor have also noted that they are going to appoint monitors from various local government who will ensure that these things are working as planned. And after that has been done, once you've achieved acceptable results, you can now replicate the system. And by so doing, I think in the next 2-3 years, we should be able to capture more than 5 million young Nigerians. Let me tell you the positive implication of having it done this way. We don't have enough money to continue to take care of those who have retired from civil service. A lot of states and federal governments, they are still owing pensions and arrears. So, but yet there is need for workforce. We are largely unbuilt society. Our education system, health system, everything is in shambles. You need manpower
so are
to
you
get
saying
them going.
the scheme should be at the expense of the pensioners?
No, it shouldn't be. What I'm saying that what is positive about it is that because it's an intervention program, it's somehow there is the burden is not long lasting, in the sense that you may get to 2 years, 3 years from now, you discover you have something better to do, you switch off. And if it continues at this level, there's not going to be need to pay pensions as the years goes by. There's no need to be asking when these people graduate into level 10, level 12, level, we have the resources to keep them going. As much as government should also make plans to employ some of them on a permanent basis, but the new order world over is that the private sector drives employment creation and job creation. It is the job of the government to provide a enabling environment for this private sector to build, so that this individual, so as we begin to recover, the economy begins to recover, and there is more liquidity in the system, the banks are capable and able to give loans to industries, targeted industries, which must meet our domestic needs as it stands now. When these people begin to build and capacity is required, some of these people can switch from a government intervention job to a permanent job with a private company, and also contribute their own pension along the line from the private sector, so that there is a sustainable future. So I believe that it should be continued. Very good.
All right, great. This is not the first time government is coming up with schemes like this. We saw the Sure Peace scheme from the previous government, which a lot of people saw that or felt that it was not effective. What's the difference? What's going to be different between this and that one?
Well, the difference always is the people. There is nothing that have changed in human history except the human factor. It is the human beings that are always the instigating factor for change. So if we have had it bad in the past, it's not a guarantee that we'll have it bad in this present. And as a society, we should begin to have a positive mindset about ourselves and the outcomes of our program. We have consistently, even as citizens, developed a negative mindset towards our own development. We have this unending fear about how things will go wrong.
Or would you blame the people? Would you blame the people when successive governments, time after time, come up with things?
Government is not spirit. Those in government had what they call full representation of the people.
But
the people who are there under the Shopee are not the people who are here.
I beg to differ with my colleague. I beg to differ with my colleague in some areas. At least the last You-Win program, I have colleagues who registered for this You-Win, and they made something good, and they are still making something good of themselves today.
Understand? Yes.
We still have a case of others who couldn't make anything out of it.
What usually happens is that some aspect of our failure is usually used to overshadow the other thing. Even as I stand here to say that I was one of those who supported the last administration, I could still tell you there are some of the things they did right. For example, now the Empower program of this current administration did not take note that the Shopee and You-Win had offices in the States. As much as we employ the this platform, we should also have some this interface platform from which people can understand, ask questions. People can come from local government, especially coordinators at the local government should have there should be proximity to answering questions, especially where it can be thoroughly explained. The desk, they should have developed business desks across the state, so local government coordinators. So we could have also borrowed from that. What I mean by saying that is that there is always something good in every administration. Irrespective of their failures, we should always learn to take and borrow from those things that they have done right and make sure there is a continuum.
Okay.
And after that, we can improve upon what we have.
All right. Okay, great. We'll come back to you on this. Let's go on a break. All right, if you're just joining us, you're watching TVC Breakfast, and we have been discussing the social intervention program by the federal government of Nigeria to employ about 200,000, or they have employed or enrolled about 200,000 youths now, and they're supposed to commence work today, 1st of December 2016 originally, and it's a part of the program to enroll about 500,000 youths in Nigeria. And we have with us in the studio great Imo Jonathan, and we have been talking about this all the while. Now, let us talk about the criteria for enrolling these people. Now, from the list we saw that although the last time we had you, we're talking about the fact that it was people were recruited based on where they resided. But the point is, we see when we go through the list, it's somewhere in in the village in Oju local government somewhere in Benue State, for instance, you see Yetunde, you see Adamu and all of that. And these are names from different parts of the country. So how is that? How do you account for that?
It's very possible. And I want to tell you, that is how much Nigeria is diffused. I've been around, I've gone to many states of the Federation. Let me give you an experience. About late last year, I went to Nasarawa State with some colleagues. We went to oversee an empowerment program by a member of the State House of Assembly and some councillors. I visited some councillors in Nasarawa State. I'm an Igbo person. I'm from Abia State. I was surprised to see not in a typical Christmas period or any of those celebration period on the street of one of the local governments, to see my Igbo brothers dressed in T-shirts branded with our traditional dressing caps, tie wrapper with drums. I mean, it was absolutely classical, and it was, I couldn't imagine it. What were they doing? I was wondering, I was asking someone, they said, there are a lot of Igbo guys around here. With all the shout about, oh, the Boko Haram have made Igbo people leave and all that, I was shocked to see my people not on a normal business, doing business, having some entertainment on the middle of the road in El Nasarawa local government, to be precise. I myself went to visit somebody who is a Northerner, a member of the State House of Assembly. From there, I ended up in the house of a council of a Northerner. Nigeria is that diffused. The issue is that those who don't want Nigeria to succeed keep harping on our negativities, which is quite challenging. Yes, Nigeria is a work in progress. We really, really need to come home to the fact that before now, even as prior to independence, the likes of Dr. Nandazikwe was born in Zingeru, in Niger State. That is how far Igbos have traveled the north. The lives of Rochas Okorocha were born in the north.
I think the
so many of those. It has not changed. The only thing is that our hatred has increased. So the camaraderie has reduced, but people are still finding their way there. When I was in Ondo, I found out that as of that time, about 1997, one of the best private hospitals there is Ndubisi Hospital, and it was so popular in Ondo. I saw my Igbo brothers who had farms. I went to Oshogbo. I traveled around this country. I went to Kogi. When we went to do on-the-hand assessment of Ajokuta still, before we made a presentation to presidency when they just came in, I saw Igbo people as far back as far as that community is. I even had, it's funny to know that that is the truth. Right. In Aba, you have Yoruba people who are second generation of Yorubas. They speak Igbo, they make clothes in Aba, and you never get to know they are Yorubas. In 2014, I went to do a youth program, a youth conference that I took Meki K and some other actors at the War Museum. I spent about 6 months in my state. I go out to some places, eateries and people. I see Yoruba people who are quality artisans doing something there. So you never can tell. Some of them were people in youth service, maybe who were visiting also in those states, and they also had the opportunity to register where they were, and it also made sense.
So I think the question really is, if, for instance, you want to take 50 people from Benue State, that those people who will register perhaps are not indigents of Benue State. Will that affect in any way some quota, if there's some kind of quota system that 50 slot, for instance, is given to Benue State, and a Yetunde who resides in Benue State perhaps will take one of the slots that is given to Benue State? Is that what you think will play out, and will that affect the success of the program?
I think you people are misinterpreting indigenship as it exists in Nigeria today. Wherever you were born, you grew up, you're an indigent. Let me give you an example. Where I lived in Ikeja over the years, I later became the Community Development Association public relations person twice. I was voted for in the community. What were some of the reasons for which I was voted for? Honestly, I can tell you, when there is no light, I take out my time to go to Nepal. There was a time we were having a season blackout. We had to protest. We went to the Undertaker. We wrote to Savicom. We wrote to Fashola at that time. And I tell you, in 2 years, we were supplied with 5 transformers. I've initiated some projects like community shows for young people. I've done youth empowerment programs because, number one, I live in that community. I have to take care of it. So if there is going to be benefit and I'm supposed to get it, don't say because, oh, my name is Imo.
Yeah,
I don't bear you to there. I shouldn't benefit. I am part of building that community.
Let me tell you the reason why we're asking this question now.
Yes.
The point there is Kano State, for instance, is asking for an increment in their slot in this program. How do you explain, how do you reconcile that kind of a request by state government?
The question to ask is on what grounds are they making the request? Is it on the grounds that those who are chosen from the state are not all Abubakars? Or is it on the grounds that, okay, we have a population that you should consider That should make sense. For example, Lagos, with larger population of residents, compared to other states, should get higher quota. Yes, if Kano is making requests on the basis of its population, and that I can understand, not on the basis of, oh, the names we saw are more of Yetunde and Chuku. If those Chukus and the Yetundes are indigenous, if they are participants in the development of the state, why should you deny them the opportunity to benefit?
That is the ideal situation, but is that what is obtainable in the
Nigeria? That is actually
today?
What is obtainable. I pay my tax in Lagos, I live in Lagos, I keep my environment clean, I pay my bills. Why shouldn't I benefit? So where should I go and benefit? Most of us have lived the larger part of our lives here, and some people in other places. That's why I told you of a generation, 2 generations of people of Yorubas in Aba. I can tell you, even they are more knowledgeable about things happening in Aba than many of the Igbos from that state who have lived in Lagos. And you are going to deny them opportunity to vote, to be voted for? No, you cannot. As young as I was this way, about 5-6 years, I knew of a man who was, my uncle is married to an Ijabu woman. And the son is works in Fidelity Bank. After she got married to my uncle, a whole lot of Yoruba women started getting married and discovered that some of these things were told are fake stories. We should give ourselves benefit of the doubt. We should diffuse all this. It's on the basis of this weakness that Nigeria has not made progress. If we should be the best and the brightest coming to the platform to give reason. In fact, let me warn that this job offer should not just be on the basis of tribe, religion, and state. We should match job opportunities with skills. As much as, yes, we are industrial, we have knowledge gap. You should ensure that there is what they call identifiable needs. Needs are matched with job. Don't just say I'm creating 200,000, 1 million jobs. Yes, there are needs in different sectors of the economy. Find out those needs. Identify the skills required so you match them with skills. Not just that. Let me tell you, the suit you're wearing here, I don't think if you know who made it, except you have a tailor, a Nigerian tailor like myself, who makes my suit. You understand me? And the tailor is not an Igbo man. The reality is that he's meeting my needs. The equipment you're using in this studio today, whether it's from China and Germany, you don't care. The important thing is that he's meeting your needs. We have reduced this country to the level of this chauvinistic factors that we can deal with it.
Can we shy away from what you call the knowledge gap, the level of illiteracy?
This generation.
I'm going to have a last one. Hold on. Just hold on, Grace.
Yes.
You can't shy away from the fact that the level of illiteracy in some parts of the country is lower than what is obtainable, in other parts of the country. This particular scheme has to do with teaching. So that means you this first batch, the first batch really has to do with teaching. That means it's required to an extent that you have a level of education for you to be able to teach.
Okay, from my understanding, Empower has three tiers. There is what they call Empower Teacher Corps. There's Empower building, and there's Empower Information Knowledge. Now, within those 3 segments, there is room for everybody. Empower building is targeted at artisans. People don't have, Western education or whatever you may call it, who have the hand skills and all of that, who can produce different kinds of things, who can welders and mechanics and all of that. So they are properly captured. And let me say this, for the fact that some states are educationally disadvantaged should not be the reason to disadvantage our nation.
All right.
If I find a solution,
great.
Let me give you an idea.
Great.
Okay, just
great.
Hold on.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much for coming great on this program.
You're welcome.
Certainly, we won't have all the time to dwell on this, but as time goes on, we'll be taking a look at these programs as they go on. Now we'll go on a break, and when we come back, it will be talk time.
All right.
To review the state of the party and the elections in Edo and Ondo State, and identified impunity and lack of respect for the PDP constitution and the rule of law as the major problems that led to our failure in the Edo and Ondo governorship elections.
Stand at the PDP crisis in Ondo State, Nigeria's southwest, following the back-to-back loss of governorship elections in Ondo and Edo State has called for questioning by the party leaders.
On Talk Time, we'll discuss the never-ending crisis in Ondo People's Democratic Party. Stay with us.